Well, we are getting more heavy weather on the south coast, heavy rain and wind overnight. A yellow rainfall warning remains in effect for the lower mainland. In the Fraser Valley, that has been an orange warning. And officials are saying that the saturated soil in the Fraser Valley could mean more rising rivers, more renewed flooding, more road closures. And for more on how the federal government is responding to these floods, we have reached Eleanor Olszewski, who is the Federal Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience. Good morning to you, Minister.
Good morning to you.
Thank you for being with us. It's been a harrowing week for people here in the Fraser Valley with flooding that, in fact, to many people compares to what the region experienced in 2021. What would you say to the residents of the Fraser Valley who have been suffering and coping with this all week long?
First of all, really my heart goes out to all of those in the province of British Columbia that are affected by this most challenging time. And I would reassure people that the situation is being managed very well by local and provincial authorities. And certainly we haven't had a request for federal assistance up to this point, but people should be reassured that if that point comes, we are there for the residents of the Fraser Valley and the Lower Mainland. And I'd just like to add to that, I really want to thank all of the first responders who are working so hard on the ground to make sure that livestock and people and properties are kept safe.
4 years ago, your government promised assistance after the 2021 flood, which was a major flood. And on Friday, Abbotsford Mayor Ross Siemens blasted the federal government, your government, for what he called inaction with its flood response. Here's some of what he said.
Within the first 6 months following the devastating flood of 2021, we developed a long-term flood mitigation plan to avoid this exact issue. We have done everything, including almost standing on our heads, to be noticed and to be heard, and again, to be disappointed by our federal government. To me, this is an issue that needs to be addressed. It's a foundational issue to our economy, to our food security, and to put my city residents at risk once again, needlessly, because of inaction, is frustrating.
Minister, have you spoken with the mayor of Abbotsford or any other mayor in, say, Chilliwack or Hope or Princeton since then?
I spoke to the mayor of Abbotsford on Friday in the late afternoon, and actually we had a really good discussion, including a discussion regarding the 2021 floods. And what I told him at that time is that with respect to this current flooding situation, we talked a little bit about the funding through disaster assistance funding that will be available to the people of British Columbia with respect to the current flooding and the various streams of money that are available. And I would like to point out to your listeners that we in fact modernized the disaster funding mechanism, and that was done and put into effect in April of this year. And so it really does have a focus on building back better. And so mitigation strategies are something that are now covered under the new disaster financial arrangements.
Are you saying that they weren't?
They weren't in the past.
They weren't covered in 2021 when the federal government sent representatives to the Fraser Valley and promised to fix things.
So I think I would want your listeners to understand that there are really two things that we can talk about. And one thing is the disaster funding that takes place post-disaster. And it basically, how the DFAA responds is it's like an insurance program. And so the province incurs the expenses, and then we reimburse the provincial government for costs incurred in recovery and direct support to communities. And so far, with respect to the 2021 flooding, $1 billion was paid out, and there are
to whom?
Further aspects.
Who was the $1 billion paid out to?
It was paid out to the province. And there are further monies, so claims are made and then they're analyzed. And as those expenses clear that process, then additional monies will be paid out.
Then why?
We anticipate that another $4 billion will be paid out with respect to the 2021 floods.
And when will that money come?
It will come after processing of various invoices, bills. It's quite a tedious and lengthy process
Uh-huh.
when there are multiple types of damages that are incurred. And so it's a bit of a fluid system, and sometimes it takes some time, not only for the expenses to be verified, but for the province to collect them in the first instance. So it can sometimes take quite a while, but we are making progress, and we'll keep working hard with the province to finalize that progress.
Minister, you mentioned insurance, and after the floods in 2021, the federal government promised to establish a countrywide insurance program for homes in high-risk areas. That program was supposed to be in place by the end of 2023. What happened to it?
I can't really speak for what might have happened
What
in
your government promised
2023.
4 years ago?
I can tell you that my department and myself were working very hard on the flood insurance aspect, and we're actively working with provinces and territories as well as the insurance industry. I've met with the Insurance Bureau of Canada at least twice now. We need to make sure that we get help to those Canadians that are the most vulnerable, the most at risk, and that we don't duplicate what's offered through private insurance. And so I can also tell you that at my most recent meeting with provinces and territories in Toronto, which was about a month ago, we did talk about flood insurance at that time, and we're committed to working this out.
Duplication does not seem to be the problem here. The problem seems to be that people are looking for any help at all, any financial assistance at all from the federal government.
With respect to insurance, though, there are products offered by the private insurance industry. And what we're looking to do is cover people who are not insurable or for whom affordability is an issue. And
Yes.
so I can tell you that we're absolutely actively working on that. As I've said, I'm committed to doing that, as is my department.
Ross Siemens, the mayor of Abbotsford, also said that the Fraser Valley municipalities back in 2021 identified all kinds of new infrastructure that would prevent repeating what happened in 2021. Those projects, he said, were ignored by the federal government.
I can't speak to what happened back in 2021, but what I can assure you at this point in time is that there are various funding streams available. Budget 2025 announces major infrastructure funding, and it includes monies that are focused on climate adaptation and resiliency. And in my discussion with the mayor of Abbotsford, I did assure him that there are multiple avenues for support that we can explore with him. And I told him as well that I'm committed to working with him as well as the province of British Columbia on that issue. Absolutely.
Minister, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
You take care. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That is Federal Minister of Emergency Services, Eleanor Olszewski. We reached her in Ottawa.